We're set up in a little 360, and we're setting up a defensive perimeter where we're going to sit for the night, and we're on a 50-50, so I'm part of the 50% that's going to take some chow, and found myself a good little position that's close to our post, so if anything happens, you know, I can be ready to go, get my weapon into action. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and take off my gear here and get ready for some chow. Okay, I got myself nice and relaxed and got my Southwest style beef and black beans. So we're gonna go ahead and open this thing up and see what we got. Last time I had an MRE was in 2010, and we had like almost 5-year-old MREs that were still in circulation that we were getting in the field. So anyways, the tear notches that you get at the top here aren't exactly leveled in the center or anything, and sometimes they can be kind of sketchy, so you know, can't always depend on this seal. It's pretty rough, but I can already see that it penetrated the inside here, so it shouldn't be too hard. There we go. This also works to kind of keep your stuff all contained if you wish, and also as kind of like a trash bag. So we'll open up this inner container. It's going to be junk, but I'm not going to dump it out because I'm going to use this for, I'm going to go ahead and sort through this. So, alright, got our entree, and it's one of the classic packaging. So, got that and our little sleeve for heating. This is kind of unusual compared to the boxes I used to get with the other MREs and the older ones. So we'll go ahead and set that off for heating. Apple pieces and spice sauce. You definitely want to warm this stuff up too. So I'll go and show you guys how I go ahead and accomplish this. So that's definitely getting heated. So it's going to go in heated drink and, you know, snacky poo. So then we got accessories here. Doesn't look like I got any coffee, but I got raspberry drink. I got a raspberry drink here, so that's pretty exciting. So I'll go ahead and get that off to the side here. And spice pound cake. Oh, this is money out in the field, I'll tell you. It's awesome, especially if you're on post and just want something silent, put in your mouth and enjoy. Dude, okay, we got regular cheese bread, you know, not really that big of a deal. Everybody wants jalapeno cheese spread. Sometimes it'll have the value of cigarettes depending on your situation and how much food you have. So we got our mocha cappuccino. They're alright, it depends on how you want it. You could, you know, try to heat it up, mix it up, and then heat it up with the ration heater. Chipotle tortillas. We got beef snacks, which is basically just beef jerky. I don't really like that they label these things like, oh, beef snack. Dude, it's just jerky. Why don't you call it jerky, comma, beef? This sounds like a British interpretation of things. So, apple pieces with spice sauce. So then our spoon and our ration heater. Now, these can be kind of finicky if they get older, but I see a lot of people kind of overcomplicating what you do with these things, so of course I'm going to do my own thing here. First thing I want to do is go ahead and open this thing up. Go ahead and take out the little heater just part way, put my main course on here. So what I actually like to do to make it better at heating is I like to go ahead and make it as small as possible, and actually, since the heater is only yay big, try to get all the ingredients down, everything, all the contents down as far as possible. So you're going to have to do this while you got bugs flying around you, got dirt all over, so you're trying to do this, you know, under time constraints as well, possibly. Put the flap, the folded flap away and away from the heater, because that's, you know, unnecessary space used. And then try to jimmy this in. The same thing's going to happen with the spiced apples. I'm going to get all the contents as far down as possible. Go ahead and put those together. And it's not an exact science on how much water you fill. It's not that big of a deal to overfill, even though they say don't do it. So, just a rough estimate. I'll just put my tortillas like this to keep the flap down and maximize the heat retention in that. And now we'll go ahead and work on the drinks. So the thing about these little cappuccinos or whatever is that it's not really a fine science either. You can adjust how thick it is or whatever, because some people complain it's too thin or it's not strong enough. Well, just vary the amount of water you put in there. Geez, it's really not that hard. It's just like any other drink. If you want it stronger, then, you know, don't put as much water in there. So I'm going to put a little bit in there, and I like them a little stronger, so I'm not going to put as much as, you know, they really like to direct. So anyways, we're going to close this up, and this can be kind of sketchy. You don't really need to create an air bubble in there, but what I like to do is just fold it over tightly once, and then get it upside down, and then use the water to kind of flush it off the bottom, and then I just let it sit like that. It doesn't take too much to reconstitute these things. So the problem I see here is there's no beverage bag for this. These drinks like this that come in these little tubes are really meant for bottled water, not canteens or Camelbacks. And you really don't want to do that, especially if you're out in the field like on deployment, where you might not be able to wash out your canteens. One thing I've always found interesting is you get a lot of salt in your MREs, and that's actually for a good reason. You can salt your water a little bit for extra, you know, salt, because you use a lot of it. So you get iodized salt. We'll put that on standby over here to add to the meal. And then of course you get your butt wipes. That's going to be useful later. Your moist towelette, you know, in here is not really going to be useful just yet, unless you're wiping your butt, so you're not really going to get that dirty. So I would save these for later when, you know, these things finally come out. And last but not least, you get your gum, and usually these things flake away and they fall apart. So, you know, the red indicates, you know, a different flavor from the white, so just got to keep that in mind. And, you know, we'll see how this works out. This is good for like dental hygiene or whatever, better than nothing. Some countries actually provide toothbrushes. Let's go ahead and open up these beef snacks. Kind of redundant packaging, I think, because it's just for this little thing, and that's a lot of packaging, so kind of a waste. And usually in the field I like to, you know, for lack of a better word, rat fuck my MREs to save on weight and pre-prioritize liquids, drink mixes, snacks, and stuff like that. Stuff I would rather have on post or on the move or whatever. Now we got our spiced pound cake, and, you know, this is definitely money, but I'm gonna definitely have this like right away once I get the rest of this sorted and set up. The cheese spread I'm not gonna really worry about actually like reconstituting or heating up, but I will reconstitute it by doing a little bit of kneading. It doesn't seem to need it that bad like older MREs, so, you know, it's not really that big of a deal. Let's open up this pound cake. This stuff is money, I swear. So we'll take it out just a little bit. This stuff can be crumbly. If it falls apart, you basically lost your food, so take little bits out while you can. Don't expose it too much, so take off a little edge right here. Oh yeah, these things were money when I was in, also with the poppy seed pound cakes. So good. You know what this would go good with? Probably a little mocha cappuccino. Nice and sugary and sweet. Now when you're drinking directly out of it, you'll want to get a very narrow tip right here and close up the top, or it could, you know, could end up putting some liquid in your nose. So also be careful of these tips right here, because you'll end up looking like the Joker. So yeah, it can cut up your mouth over time. So anyways, thumbs up. Now I'm not really a fan of cold brew, but that was actually pretty good. Kind of chocolatey. Kind of like a chocolate milk more than anything, with a little touch of coffee right before that, which is nice because they didn't give me any coffee, and I love coffee, so, you know, that's a bummer. They're starting to cut things out from MREs, and I don't really care for it. I want a beverage bag so I can, you know, make these things up and then heat them up, especially coffee. So anyways, let's continue getting some of this good liquid. Oh, that's so good. Like a good chocolate milk. Not so much coffee flavored anymore. Alright, at the end there I got a little bit of powder, but it wasn't really noticeable as powder. It was just like little chunks. But, you know, I don't really care. That stuff was delicious, and, you know, I like a little texture, especially when I'm hungry. So, doesn't really bother me none. Okay, so it's still working, and since it's having a little trouble here, I'm going to put it on more flat ground right here. I'm going to have to make a Chipotle quesadilla, because this stuff is useless without some wheat snack bread, so, that kind of sucks. I'm going to make my quesadillas. So, you don't really need to, heat these things, but, using it on here, it kind of heats it up, but I think it makes it just softer and not really that great. So, whatever I don't use with cheese, I just eat it like bread. Who cares, right? So when you're opening up this cheese spread, you want to kind of get it, away from the surface, because you're going to want to cut it just a little notch. You don't really need to be too aggressive with this, like cutting it all the way along, because you can end up wasting, but you can end up wasting a little valuable cheese. So you can try to tear it really slowly, which this one's tearing a little easy, but the inner plastic seal can kind of end up making the hole a little bigger than you want it to be, but that's okay, because I'm going to be using a roughly big area. Best way I've found to get this cheese spread out, by the way, is to kind of roll it up like toothpaste, and this is the good thing about not heating it up, because it doesn't become a liquid when you're actually, trying to use it. Open this thing up, and yeah, get that stuff out there. Not too much, but, enough, and you still got plenty. Okay, so it's ready. It's got the cheese close to the surface, but, not too bad. Shit, what would make this thing a whole lot better? Is if I had a little damn Tabasco, or, something like that, or some hot sauce of some kind, whatever. Add to my main course and stuff like this, where it's kind of cheesy. You always want a little bit of heat. You end up wanting that. The Chipotle isn't really doing anything but adding a little bit of flavor to it. Okay, this quesadilla is going to be kind of, crappy, because it's like I had a bite taken out of it already. And then bugs are actually trying to make friends with me a little too much. So, kind of annoying. Alright. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's why we are typically not too picky about food when we get back, because we get a close representation somewhat here, but the flavor is a little better, and all you really need is kind of like a little tease of home and stuff like that, and you do the best you can with what you got, for me, if I couldn't get Tabasco, why couldn't they just put jalapeno cheese in there? I mean, they should know by now that we always like a little bit of heat, or at least most people do. So, trading it out, whoever doesn't want, Tabasco, someone will take extra. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, jalapeno cheese would go so good with this. It would make it almost perfect for a nice field quesadilla. Texture's good. It's nice and relatively thick when you chew into it. The cheese kind of gives you a little resistance, so you're biting into something. It's not just falling apart. So yeah, it's pretty satisfying. All right, so the ration heater's done for the most part, and it just has a little bit of retained heat. I mean it's still kind of working here, but this ration is heated all the way through. The spiced apples are heated all the way through, so I don't think I want to waste much time. I'm hungry. So tear it open here, and I drain out the liquid first if there is any residual liquid. So the hard part is getting this out without burning yourself, and the best thing I've found is kind of cut this open, tear it open, whatever you need to do to get to the ration without burning yourself. And some people would say, well, why did you fold this over? Well, because I wanted to, because I wanted to keep it from straightening out and then sending food up. Anyways, here we go. Okay, so get this all on one side, make our little bowl. Now the problem with these, even though they have side tear notches, they can be kind of inconsistent. They can go down on one side or something like that, so you might just want to have a knife on hand, which I do. Got my trusty K-bar. Surgically open it. Now we got our spoon. This is a pretty hard plastic compared to the older MREs, but seems to work pretty fine for, opening. Let's go ahead and add some salt to this. And again, this is the point of this review being done in the field with all the dirt and stuff. You really have to prioritize protecting your food and from getting spilled and stuff like that. You don't need that when you're doing a tray review. You know, I get that it's just a taste test, but this makes it more fun, you know, and you appreciate it after you haven't eaten for a while. So I know some people are like, well, why don't you just, you know, taste the food first without salt? Well, yeah, it has some, you know, a good amount of sodium in it already, but, you know, just adds to the flavor. So I'm going to see how it is dressed up first. I don't really care. Everybody's got their own opinions, but whatever. This is pretty nice. So you can see there, just spooning it out, you get a little bit on the side, so you got to be really cautious with your bowl and just cradle it. You don't need to hold on to it, or else you're just going to be pushing the stuff up. So just cradle it. And this is like a chili. I mean, this stuff is actually pretty good, and it's got a little bit of heat to it. It's not like spicy, but it's got spices in it. And the salt, I think, actually brings that out. Nice chunk of beef right there on the back of the spoon. And you know what? That's actually, you know, not really tough, but almost perfectly tender beef. That's awesome. So, you know, it's like real beef, unlike a lot of the older rations, so they've definitely made a bit of an improvement. So it seems like a good proportion of meat, like a real chili. I mean, I don't think I would want more beans. I don't think I would want more meat or corn. So I think they did pretty good with this. Looks like they got a little bit of a tomato in here. So that's pretty cool. I think they did a pretty good job on this. Okay, so put all my stuff in the trash bag. It was pretty watery, not exactly tortilla eats, but now we got our spiced apples, and since there's really not too much, it's going to be a little syrupy, so it's going to be a little bit thicker. I'm not going to be too specific about this one, but you know, I'm going to do it carefully, and if it screws up, I'll just do the rest with my knife. But you want to kind of direct it to tear up to the actual seal, so it won't really dip down. It's better to go up than down. So anyways, seems to tear pretty easily. There we go. And yeah, look at that. Oh, anyways, yeah, it was definitely smart to, you know, heat this stuff up so it's not, you know, the consistency of, you know, baking grease, because that's basically what it would be. So it's nice and, you know, liquidy, and oh yeah, spiced apples. It's so good. It's like a apple pie filling, like a cinnamon apple pie filling or something like that. I don't think I've ever heard of cinnamon apple pie, but you know, got a good amount of cinnamon, that sugary cinnamon. So anyways, check it out. Damn, this is like almost having, you know, a chunky cinnamon applesauce, like very little effort. And this is what I want. I don't want to have to actually sit there and chew like the old spiced apples, where I have to sit there and chew the apples and stuff like that. I want something that I can just move them around my tongue and let all that sugar, you know, attack my taste buds, and it to have a good time and have a nice party in my mouth. You know, the flavor of the apples, you got real apple flavor. It's not like it was lost in the making of this, like old spiced apples. It was basically, you just got a little more intense spice, but you had like no apple flavor, so you feel like you're actually having a mix between applesauce and real apples. So it's a nice combination, the best of both worlds, I would say. So anyways, this is pretty good. These apples are so real, you're getting a little bit of the inside of the apples, so, you know, kind of nasty, but, you know, whatever. You know, you're eating real apples, so it can be kind of inconvenient for some people. You don't want to have to pick stuff out of your mouth with dirty hands, so, you know, kind of a negative, but, you know, whatever. So I got some more time before post and, you know, stuff like that. I can chill out. I'm still a bit hungry, so I'm going to have this beef snack, which is basically like a Jack Link's, you know, a little thing, and it's probably going to be greasy, but this thing is kind of tough to tear, so whatever, it's kind of inconvenient, so that's a negative. You shouldn't have to deal with this inconvenient while you're in the field. You're already inconvenienced enough and fatigued, so it's just going to be like, just one more thing. Okay, so it's coming out nice and good, so it's like a little meat turd, so yeah, not too bad. Let's see how it is. You know, this is like twice as thick as a Jack Link's. It doesn't even have the taste of a Jack Link's. I think all the grease and the extra stuff gives a little more taste. Okay, so, you know, I was going to save this for post, but, you know, I think I'll take stuff now. I mean, I got plenty of time still, so I'm going to show you one method that I actually have used, and, you know, it's not going to work for everybody if you don't know how to, you know, properly, you know, separate out little portions and stuff like that, but basically you put a little bit of powder in your mouth with a little bit of water, and try to just do a little bit, because this is good for 16 ounce 16-ounce water bottles. So yeah, we'll go and open up the canteen. Okay, so now tear this open. This sucks. I should have tore it from the other side, but whatever. Kind of go with the steam instead of against it. So there we go. So now we'll open it up a little bit, and I'll try to pinch off what I don't want as it's coming out. So that should work. So you can put a little water in first, or put a little powder in first. So anyways, bottoms up. Oh man, that's so raspberry. And it's really tart, like you're having a bunch of raspberries that don't really have the water ratio. So yeah, it can be pretty strong. So you'll definitely need 2 swigs. So swish it around in your mouth to reconstitute it, and it'll be all good to go. Oh man, that actually was pretty tart, and I had to use a good amount of water, but it still wasn't even the 20 ounces that they recommend. So you might want to drink a little water to wash that powdery coating off. And it's not too bad, but that's the sacrifice you make when you don't have a beverage bag to mix that thing up in. So it kind of sucks that they don't have those in MREs anymore. I don't see what the big deal is. So anyways, let's go ahead and wrap up. Okay, so I'm going to go over some final thoughts on the Southwest style, beef and black beans. I mean, that stuff was basically like chili. I don't know why you'd want tortillas with it, but some people would want to make it into like a burrito or whatever, but they're so small and they fall apart, it kind of sucks for that. But I would just make a quesadilla with the cheese, and I wish it would have been jalapeno cheese. Maybe some people get that. I don't know, but I don't really find it too appealing. But as I'm talking and yakking my mouth, I guess I'll try this gum. Save my teeth. A little bit of problems in the future, and keep me from having to hear about my dentist whining. Oh yeah, it's cinnamon flavored. Awesome. So anyways, the Southwest style beef it's pretty good. It isn't lacking spices or consistency or real ingredients, and everything was good. You could actually taste the flavor in the individual components, so it was actually pretty satisfying compared to the older MREs I was getting. So I don't know, but some people like to have these MREs and for an emergency, like if you're at home. I wouldn't do that. I don't see the need. If you have access to water and everything, I don't know why you'd want to do that, especially on camping, unless you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere with no water around and you just have to use what you have on hand, which that's really the point of the MREs, is you never know where you're going to be, so why set people up for failure? You can have it cold or you can have it hot. So, a little taste of home with stuff that's kind of familiar is kind of nice, but you're not really too picky about things in the field, especially if you have things that can add flavor like Tabasco. You can be kind of forgiving, so it's not too bad. I actually enjoyed it. But anyways, thanks a lot for watching. Leave your comments below if you like this field style review of the MREs, because I'm going to be doing more in the future. So thanks a lot for watching. You guys have a good one.